Step into the shadowy world of Danny Casolaro, a journalist whose pursuit of truth led to his mysterious death in 1991. American Conspiracy, The Octopus Murders uncovers Casolaro's investigation into the octopus, a web of corruption intertwining governments, corporations, and global powers. From secretive military officers and political scandals to the weaponization of technology, this gripping video delves into conspiracies that could shake the foundation of truth itself. Was Casolaro silenced for what he uncovered, or did his obsession lead him to a tragic end? The answers remain elusive, but the questions have never been more relevant. Segment 1: The Hook, August 10, 1991. The quiet town of Martinsburg, West Virginia, awakens to a grim discovery. In room 517 of the Sheraton Inn, the lifeless body of journalist Danny Casolaro is found in the bathtub, his wrists slashed deeply. A chilling scene staged to look like a suicide. But was it? The authorities were quick to dismiss it. A suicide, they said. But those who knew Danny and the secrets he carried weren't convinced. Because Danny Casolaro wasn't just any journalist. He was a man on the trail of something dark, something dangerous, something he called the octopus. Joseph Daniel Casolaro, born on June 16, 1947, was far more than just a freelance writer. Raised in a Catholic household in McLean, Virginia, Danny's early life was marked by tragedy. He was the second of 6 children, but the loss of 2 siblings, one shortly after birth and another to a drug overdose in the infamous Haight-Ashbury of the 1970s, left lasting scars on the family. As an adult, Danny wore many hats: amateur boxer, poet, journalist, and even a breeder of purebred Arabian horses. But it was his foray into journalism that would both define and perhaps doom him. From investigating the Soviet naval presence in Cuba to uncovering Chinese opium smuggling, Casolaro sought to illuminate the shadows of international intrigue. Yet, in his later years, he pivoted away from reporting to the rising world of computer technology, acquiring and selling computer trade publications throughout the 1980s. In early 1990, Danny returned to journalism and stumbled upon the InsLaw case, a web of alleged corruption tied to government theft of software used to track criminal cases. But this was only the first strand of a far-reaching conspiracy he called the octopus. His research spiraled into a vortex of names, old CIA officers, arms dealers, and organized crime, fed by shadowy sources. Friends say he was consumed by the scope of what he'd uncovered. In the days leading up to his death, Danny confided in his family about receiving threatening phone calls. He warned his brother, "If something happens to me in Martinsburg, it won't be an accident." Danny was found in room 517 of the Sheraton Hotel. His body lay in the bathtub, wrists slashed a dozen times in a manner so brutal that it shocked even seasoned investigators. The blood-spattered walls painted a scene of horror that one housekeeper could not bear to witness. Authorities ruled it a suicide, citing his financial struggles and the emotional toll of his work. Yet his family remained unconvinced. They pointed to his well-documented fear of blood and needles, and he had. Now streaming on Netflix, American Conspiracy: The Octopus Murders peels back the layers of Casolaro's investigation. Directed by Zachary Tritts, the Emmy-winning filmmaker behind Wild Wild Country, the docuseries masterfully intertwines reenactments and real-world interviews. The filmmakers offer an open-ended perspective on Casolaro's death, avoiding easy answers. Tritts emphasizes that American Conspiracy: The Octopus Murders isn't about proving Casolaro's theories right or wrong. It's about exploring the murky waters of truth and lies in the shadow of power. In the weeks leading up to his death, Danny had been digging into a tangled web of corruption, greed, and power. He was convinced that a shadowy international cabal was controlling the world's most powerful institutions, espionage, government, and global economics, for their own gain. He called it the Octopus, a name as sinister as the network it represented. But what exactly was the Octopus? And what made Danny Casolaro believe he had uncovered its secrets? The answers lie in a legal battle that began years earlier, a case so explosive it threatened to bring the U.S. government to its knees. It all began with a lawsuit, InsLaw v. United States. In the 1980s, the Justice Department contracted a company named InsLaw to create a cutting-edge case management software called Promise. But soon after, InsLaw accused the government of stealing their technology, plunging the company into financial ruin. A corporate dispute? Perhaps. But for Danny, it was the first thread in a tapestry of corruption that stretched far beyond a stolen software program. Danny became obsessed. He believed Promise was more than just software. It was a weapon, a tool used by intelligence agencies to track targets, manipulate information, and maintain control. And if his suspicions were true, this theft wasn't just about money. It was about power, unimaginable power. But the deeper Danny dug, the more enemies he made. He spoke of strange phone calls, shadowy figures following him, and veiled threats warning him to back off. And then he met Joseph Cuellar. A name buried in the Netflix docuseries The Octopus Murders, was one of the last people to meet Danny before his death. A government contractor shrouded in mystery, Cuellar's connection to Danny remains unclear. But one thing is certain, after that meeting, Danny changed. He worked tirelessly, as if he were running out of time, and then he was gone. The night Danny Casolaro died, he told friends he had arranged a meeting with a source, someone who held the final pieces of the puzzle. Did he find the answers he was looking for? Or did the octopus strike first, ensuring that its secrets would never see the light of day? Segment 2, The Shadow of Power, Reagan Scandals, and the Ghost of Cuellar. In the murky world of Danny Casolaro's investigation, one name keeps slipping through the cracks: Joseph Cuellar. Who was this elusive figure? An intelligence officer, perhaps? Someone with ties to a larger operation? His presence in Casolaro's final days raises unsettling questions. Was Cuellar a pawn, a protector, or a predator in this game of shadows? Yet, Cuellar is but a single tentacle of the sprawling entity Danny called the Octopus. To understand its power, we must return to the beating heart of its influence, the Reagan-Era, a time when secrecy, scandal, and conservatism ruled the American political landscape. For Danny, the road to the Octopus ran through the darkest chapters of Ronald Reagan's presidency: Iran-Contra, the October surprise, and the InsLaw cover-up. The Iran-Contra affair, a covert operation to sell arms to Iran and fund Nicaraguan rebels, was one of the most damning scandals of the Reagan administration. Billions moved in the shadows, leaving a trail of lies and unanswered questions. Danny believed this was just one piece of the puzzle, a tentacle of the octopus, stretching into every corner of government and beyond. And then there was the October surprise, the allegation that Reagan's team delayed the release of American hostages in Iran to secure his 1980 election victory. For Danny, these conspiracies weren't isolated events. They were threads in the same web, a web that spanned decades, connecting covert government deals, corporate greed, and international espionage. Danny Casolaro never lived to see the political scandals that rocked America in the 1990s. What would he have made of the events that followed? The Clinton controversies, the rise of government surveillance, the spread of social media. Would he have seen these as new threads or extensions of the same dark web he was unraveling? Danny wasn't just a journalist, he was a father. His death wasn't just a loss for investigative journalism, it was a personal tragedy. But for all the grief and curiosity surrounding his story, there's one area where even the most relentless investigators show restraint: his family. Little is known about Danny's private life, and that's by design. He married in the late 1960s, had a son, and divorced years before his investigation began. His son's privacy has been fiercely protected, and rightly so. The shadow of the octopus may haunt Danny's legacy, but it's not a burden his family should bear. Segment 3: The Digital Prophet and the Shadows of Conspiracy. Danny Casolaro wasn't just a journalist. He was a man standing at the edge of two revolutions: political corruption and the digital age. While most saw computers as tools for efficiency, Danny saw them for what they could become: weapons. A way for governments and corporations to wield unprecedented power. And in his pursuit of truth, this revelation became his compass and his curse. In the 1980s, Danny pivoted his career toward the burgeoning world of computing. He wrote for computer publications, marveling at the possibilities of digitization. But where others saw innovation, Danny saw control. He began asking questions no one wanted to answer. How were world governments using this new digital power? And more importantly, why? One of Danny's theories led him to the funneling of illegal drugs into socially targeted communities. According to his research, it wasn't just about narcotics, it was about politics. Many believed that the Reagan administration turned a blind eye or even facilitated the drug trade for political leverage. It's a chilling accusation: destabilize communities, consolidate power, and control the narrative. Danny saw these actions as the workings of the Octopus, a sprawling network of corruption that reached into every facet of power. It wasn't just about drugs, it was about control, and Danny was determined to expose it. But Danny wasn't alone in his suspicions. Others were watching the same shadows, asking the same dangerous questions. One of them was Cherry Seymour, a fellow investigator with her own harrowing tale. In one of the most chilling moments of the Octopus Murders, Seymour recounts her encounter with Robert Booth Nichols, a man shrouded in mystery, tied to conspiracy, and most disturbingly, to Danny himself. According to Seymour, Nichols once tried to manipulate her into believing a doctored video of President Kennedy's assassination was real, a sinister ploy to discredit her if she ever shared what she knew. This wasn't just intimidation, it was psychological warfare, and Nichols wasn't done. Before Danny's death, Nichols met with him, offering information that would lead Danny deeper into his web. What did they discuss? What secrets did Nichols share? The answers died with Danny. Directors Christian Hansen and Zachary Tritts knew the weight of the story they were telling. Every piece of information they uncovered came with consequences. Every theory could tilt the audience's perception of Danny's death. In a world where nothing is provable without a doubt, they chose to let the audience decide. Was Danny the victim of a sinister conspiracy or of his own obsession? Danny's investigation was never about easy answers. It was about uncovering the hidden mechanisms that govern our world. The deeper he dug, the more tangled the web became, until it finally ensnared him. And perhaps that's the most chilling truth of all. The octopus thrives in the shadows, where certainty dies. Today, the questions Danny asked remain as relevant as ever. The weaponization of technology, the manipulation of power, the exploitation of society's most vulnerable. His story isn't just a cautionary tale, it's a call to action. For those brave enough to look behind the curtain, Danny's legacy is a reminder. The truth is out there, waiting for someone to find it. Are you ready to pick up where Danny left off? To follow the breadcrumbs and uncover the hidden truths of our time. Join us at Mystery Media, where the shadows speak and the secrets unravel. Subscribe now, and let's dive deeper into the mysteries that shape our world.